Hey family, how you doing? Welcome. I hope you guys are having a great day. It's another beautiful day out there. At least where we are right now. It's 60 beautiful 65 degrees. The sun is out. It's nice outside and I was had some chance to get out there. I'm getting ready to go back out there in a little bit, but anyway, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day and before I went out there, I wanted, I had some catch up of some podcasts and stuff I had to upload and all that, which I did. And all the links you will find over on our community page. Just go to our community page, and the links are there. The live broadcast that we did the other day, this past Thursday on the 4th. I was able to get that podcast up on our podcast stream. I mean, you can watch the video, but we also have the podcast form. I just uploaded that. Let's see. So that's up. I just uploaded the next installment of our Who in the L series podcast. That's a very lengthy and a very detailed series that we did. And and I can understand for some people, it's just, it can be quite a lot, meaning it's a lot of information. I mean, some of these videos go, man, 2.5, 3+ hours, and it's just boom, boom, boom. And I'm giving so many references, details, and stuff like that. And I know it can be a challenge. So what we did was we split it up into small pieces. I miss you too, sister. How you doing? Glad to see you back. And yeah, taking those internet breaks is a good thing for real. Anyway, so what we did is we split it up into smaller pieces, about a half an hour a piece, and so you're just getting the audio version of it, but it's just for people who just say, hey, listen, I can only take it a little bit at a time. That's, we made that especially for you, but we do recommend that you go to our My Bondtube webpage, and that's where you'll find the full video so that you can see the slides and the references and stuff like that, so you can actually see the information, and then you can take that information and look it up on your own. And like we always do, we always highly encourage people to look these things up on your own. Listen, I'm just a regular guy. I am, at the end of the day. This ain't some kind of it takes some special talent or a special skill set, or you got to go years and years of college or university to do these things. I'm just picking up books and I'm just asking questions. I mean, that's all I'm doing. As far as I'm concerned, I'm just continuing what I did from day one, when I was born, and as a child. And, a child they just put things in their mouth and they're like, oh, okay, that's nasty. I can't eat that. I saw mommy and daddy doing this, and let me see. Oh, that kind of feels kind of good. Okay, that's good. Okay, that works. All right, and what's this here? I don't know. Well, I can't touch that, because it's kind of hot. That's what children do, and adults. That learning thing, that innocence, and just asking questions and learning and exploring, that should always remain with us. What religion does, it takes that from you. Religion says, no, 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 we're not going to do that. We're going to clear this table off. And the only things that you are permitted to touch on or ask about or talk about are what's on this table. If you go any further than that, then I'm sorry, you're going to go to hell. That's it. It's just plain and simple. You're going to go straight to hell. That's what religion does. But we're not with religion. Okay. We're not with that at all. We encourage people to take the time and to look all around. Ask as many questions as you want so that you can kind of put together, in your own way, okay, wait a minute. I see now how these people got me and how they deceived me. You know what I'm saying? And, but ultimately, like hopefully many of us here, we're just in search of the truth. That's it, and I think anybody, a lot of people claim that, but there are many people who don't want the truth, because the truth oftentimes requires you to make adjustments and to make changes that you have kind of gotten used to. And so now you're like, well, why I got to do that now? Or what am I going to tell the children? I've been doing this like this for so many years. Now I'm going to look like a complete idiot now telling them that the color is green, from the Wiz, right? Or, you changing up. No, change is actually a good thing, and it's funny because sometimes people try to bring it up, with us. Well, I'm confused, and this is people who haven't been here in a long, long time. They'll come and say, I'm confused, and you guys are confused because last time I was here, you was talking about this, and now you're talking about this, and you out here confusing people. I'm like, no, we ain't confused. You might be confused, but we're not confused. We've been documenting every step of the way. We've been asking questions. We've been inviting people to come in to ask questions and doing all this stuff all the time. And no, we've been laying it all out. So there's no confusion here. And so that's what we encourage people to do. And then we have, even if you go look at our playlist, we have a whole playlist dedicated to just showing you what we came out of, what we believe, what we're all of that. So it's all there, So anyway, a while back, I'm trying to remember when, this had to be over a year ago. I can't remember. It's not in front of me right now. It was definitely, hold on. I can get the answer right now. Let me see. This was uploaded. Yeah, I would say it was a little over a year ago. My wife and I, we did a series over on mybondtube.com. And if you're brand new, mybondtube.com, that's MYBANTUBE. That is our streaming video platform that we have here. Because see, we don't believe in putting all of our eggs in one basket. This is the platform right here. So if you want to act like it got some sense, here it is, mybondtube.com. This is our series, right here. And we have series. This is our website. It's got a ton of videos, documentaries, movies, all teachings from all over. I mean, just all kinds of things on health and wellness and you name it. I mean, we got a lot of stuff on there. So I would encourage you to check it out when you get a chance. And we appreciate those who are supporting to keep that site up and running. We really appreciate you guys, especially. But anyway, so about a little over a year ago, my wife and I, we did a series called, it was basically about the history of circumcision. Okay. And that one, I did not realize when I first started the research on that one, I did not realize how impactful it was going to be to me as a man. I didn't realize it. I didn't know, because it answered quite a few questions for me as a man and my own manhood. And, it just was one of those topics that really was very impactful. And all I have to say is I can only beg you, the best way I can. But if you have not taken a look at that video, I would encourage you to do so. So what I did was I actually cut some things out to make it a little bit shorter. I mean, if you actually go on BondTube, the video itself is like 4 hours long. It's long, man. It's long, but I cut it down to 2.5 hours. Okay. It's still long, right? Because I really don't know what other things I can cut. Like I was trying to trim it down, and I do know that for a lot of people, they don't want to spend that time. They just don't, no matter what you tell them, but it depends on the topic. If I was on here basically telling you on Monday, this eclipse is coming, and I'm going to tell you what God has told me about the eclipse, that, half the planet's going to die and the other half is still going to be here. And what's going to happen is someone's going to find, and I hear the Lord telling me that there's going to be this glove that's going to come and it's going to have these 5 jewels on it, and someone's going to snap, and all of a sudden everybody's going to come back. Oh, that's Avengers. I'm sorry. No, but you have people who are out here now, and that's what they, that grabs a lot of attention. But this thing right here, this topic here of circumcision, is something that is of of great and utmost importance, like I said, to men primarily, but also women. Now, let me be very clear. Circumcision is something that happens worldwide to both men and women. I'm very, very clear on that. And we've even touched on that in this series just a little bit. But primarily, we're talking about men. And where did this whole practice of circumcision, where did it come from? If your answer is the Bible, it did. However, that's where many of us get it from. However, the practice itself did not start with the Bible. The practice of circumcision goes way past that. It goes all the way back. It's an ancient practice. It was a way males would show their loyalty and their dedication to their God, to their deity. If you go to some of the ancient myths that are written, I mean, when you read about some of these different gods and male gods, there are many stories in these different mythologies that talk about how, a god was, wanted to show their worth to whatever this goddess was that they really loved. And there's many stories out there where they'll talk about how they circumcise themselves. So this is an ancient practice. And again, I repeat, it's not something that it's not something that originated from the Bible. However, it is something that the Bible is something that many people use to justify this practice. And in this series, we go back into those ancient times and we look at the origins of where this practice actually came from. Then from there, we don't cover all of the practices because what we're hovering on is, where did the Bible get this from? And so the Bible actually is pulling this from, because the Bible was written in Mesopotamia, Mediterranean area. I mean, that's really where a lot of where the Bible gets its influence. It gets it from that. However, there are, what I am very aware of is throughout the continent of Africa, you will find people, different tribes that have ancient roots who also engaged in circumcision. And I'll touch on that in a moment. So we're very aware on that. We touched on that in the series. So we start in ancient times, but we also go into, the different ones, the different people who pushed it. And why did they push it? How did this practice of circumcision actually get entered into the biblical text? One of the things we touch on is that the original text did not even have circumcision in it. It was something that was added much later. And so we talk about that. Then we talk about the people who put it in there. Who are these people who actually inserted this practice in there? And then we talk about the health piece of it. We get into that. That one is a very important one. That's a very important part of this whole discussion when it comes to circumcision, because this is not something that a lot of people even consider. What many of us have been told when it comes to circumcision is that it's done for health reasons. It's to keep that area clean, as if we don't know how to wash down there. Only some people don't. But no, that's not the reason. You don't need to get circumcised in order to keep clean. It's funny because I actually came across, and it's a disgusting story, but I'm going to share it anyway. There was a story that hit the news just recently where a man went to the hospital because his uncircumcised manhood basically had gotten so dirty over the years, it calcified, and they had to actually go in there with sharp instruments to pluck it out. I mean, it's disgusting, but that's not and then, I saw people in the comments, they were saying, a couple of people, they said, well, I guess this is why you circumcised. No. That joker didn't even wash. That's because he don't know how to wash, but circumcision does not solve that. What we talk about also in this series, we get into how the nerve endings, the reason why are those organs, be it when we're talking about the male and we also talking about the female, there's reasons why there's so many nerve endings that terminate there. A lot of times when we think of those areas, that part of our body, we just think in terms of sexual stuff, and that's part of it. but there's a lot of nerve endings, many nerve endings that impact all different areas of your body, especially your mind. Okay, especially your mind. And what happens basically is when you take a child, now there's a scene in this video, okay, that you may have to fast forward if you can't take it, but I've included it because I had to include it, because you don't see it, you just hear this child screaming for his life as it's getting circumcised. Now you may hear that and be like, oh, I don't want to see that, but many of you have subjected your young boys to this practice. So if it's that squeamish, then why did you do that? Now this series isn't to condemn folks, okay? It's not to condemn you, all right? Because you have parents out there that did this because they just thought that's what they were supposed to do, or that was it, or maybe because the Bible said it, or my doctor told me that, or whatever. So what's done is done. You understand what I'm saying? So this is not a series to condemn you of something that's already been done. You know, it's something for you to learn and to know, hey, listen, hey, I didn't know, chalk it up to ignorance, but I do know going forward, I'm definitely not doing this again. If I have any other children, or if I have grandchildren, or you know, my children are about to have grandchildren, I'm going to let them know, hey, listen, you need to check this series out before y'all allow that to happen. And so we also talk about the the nerve endings part. Okay, so we covered that, and how many of these nerve endings are directly tied to your brain, which your brain is where all your physiological, your psychological stuff, I should say, you know, that's all that's up there, right? That's your brain. That's your thinking center. When you subject anytime you are cutting skin, anytime, that is trauma, be it if it's on a child, but also even on an adult, that's trauma. But especially as a newborn, imagine you're a newborn, you are just coming out of your mom and they wash you down or whatever. And one of the first things they do is pull out a knife, go to the most sensitive part of your body and proceed to trim parts of it off. The amount of trauma that's done at that moment when that child is screaming at the top of its lungs, there are psychological things that are taking place. There are new fears. You know how people say a new fear unlocked? That's what's happening. And we talk about that. We show you the research. We show you all of that, of what happens to the mind of a child, a young boy, when that child is circumcised. And there's a ton of research out there that shows this. We also talk about how, going back, I mentioned earlier that, I've had some people say, well, there's nothing wrong with circumcision and, it's perfectly fine. This is something my tribe in Africa, we did this for many, many years. Oh, yeah, we looked at some tribes too. And what doesn't get reported, and the same thing in the Bible, because, in the Bible, it'll say, there was 3,000 men that got circumcised that day, or 10,000 men that got circumcised, but it never mentions the circumcisions that didn't go right. And if you're cutting that many people, there is going to be an error factor there. Okay, it just is. You understand what I'm saying? And so, especially you dealing with men, adults, or even children for that matter, there is going to be an error factor. And especially during that time, you're dealing with rocks, sharp rocks and stuff like that. It's horrible, And so, but again, that's the biblical narrative. But anyway, in Africa, we looked at a couple of, I know at least one, it may have been another one, where that's what they do for their men. And someone actually studied them and showed that there was a very high rate of not just failure in the sense, and failure in it. In two places. One, high rate of people dying as a result of it because they just bled to death. Then there is also a high rate of mutilation. And where it's, circumcision is mutilation. It is. We've just normalized it in this world, in this matrix we live in. Any male that's been circumcised, you have been mutilated down there. That is mutilation. Okay. Maybe you need to take some time and just process what I just said to you. That line that's there, and you know what I'm talking about, that's mutilation. You've been mutilated down there. Okay. So but there is gross mutilation that takes place where you have men that they're very ashamed of, of what it looks like, because the doctor that their parents chose to cut them down there did such a horrible job. And then the doctor just said, oh, honey, don't worry about it. They'll just grow out of it. But it never happens. If they cut too deep, or if they cut, in a wrong way or whatever, there are many men out there. They just don't talk about it too often, but it happens. You can do a search right now of men who suffer from this. And we also talked about how the CDC and other health bodies out there, for some strange reason, they don't measure this. So you don't really hear about it. In other words, they don't take surveys, heavy surveys that really, put these doctors' feet to the fire and say, hey, listen, you need to report. When you screw up, you got to report it. To my knowledge, there's no database that even captures this information. But that it is out there, and it does happen, and it happens quite frequently, and it has a direct impact on the minds of many of our men. It does, and we talk about that and how so. It also has an impact on sexual relations between a man and a woman, and we go into that part as well. And like I said, I won't go into the details here. I would just say again, when you watch the series, we actually go into that, and we talk about in what ways it has a very severe impact on sexual relations between a man and a woman. If you are someone who's been circumcised, now you may be watching this and say, I ain't got no problem, but please just watch the video and you'll see what I'm talking about. Like I said, I'm not going to go into it on this platform, but I would just recommend you to, definitely watch it. But again, just to recap again, this is a series that it's a lot of information. It's one that you are going to have to be very mature about in the information that's being seen. There's some stuff, it's going to be hard to watch. It's going to be hard to listen to. And, but if you really want the truth on this and the impact it's having, has had on us and continues to have, you're going to need to watch it. I mean, there's no other way that I can put it, and I'm very aware, as I see people down in the video, you have religious people in the house that are so married to their Bible, and they will not dare even ask any questions at all about the history behind any of these practices. They just simply repeat what their master has told them and think that's it. My wife was funny. I don't know if it was my wife or someone recently told me about, it was an older gentleman. I guess it was on some video that was just uploaded, and he was asking his teacher, his moray, about getting circumcised. Now, this man is about 40 something years. Look, from the person that was telling me, he said this man looked like he was about in his 40s, asking another grown man about getting circumcised and should he go ahead and get circumcised. And from what I recall, the man that he was asking said, yes, absolutely, you need to do that. And so that really stuck in my mind. I said, wow, it's really something. And it's sad, but again, we all did things that we didn't know. We didn't have the information. We didn't know to ask. We just did it because we were simply told to do it. And like I told you guys it was in an earlier video I think I did. I talked about the reality that when we were brought over here, as we were brought over here to be one thing, and that's not to be great thinkers. It wasn't to be engineers. It wasn't to be doctors. It wasn't to be psychoanalysts. It wasn't to be rocket scientists. We were brought over here and we were trained to be people who were just obedient. And this is why literacy rates remain low amongst our people, especially when it comes to spiritual matters. Many of our people just simply look to someone to tell them what to think and what to believe. So the idea of someone saying, listen, you read it, you investigate, and you come up with your own conclusion for numbers of our people, they won't do it, and I've been doing this for years. Like I said, again, it's gotten to the point where I can't even give books away to people because they won't take them. You know, um, it's really sad. But this topic here is one that I would highly encourage you to go check out this video. The link to the video that I'm talking about, it's in the description of this video that you're watching right now. And like I said, again, I was able to cut it down to 2.5 hours. So go, so it's, like I said, it's lengthy. It's something that you're going to have to take some time and watch. But I would recommend, especially our men, for you to sit and to watch it from start to finish. And that's it. And then from there, hopefully it'll make some kind of difference. So to the link that you see in the description now, that's the part 1. And then I think I have 1 or 2 more, but I'll be uploading those over the weekend, and you can check that out at your at your leisure. But just to let you know, it's over there. That's why we created that whole channel called Long Form History, because if I were to upload that here, I know a lot of people wouldn't even bother to click because they see the length of it. But for those that are really interested in these topics and really want as many facts and links and to studies and all of that stuff, that's what Long History is. Long Form History channel, that's what it's for. And the link is in the description here. Okay, so you can check that out. So anyway, if you haven't seen it, I would definitely encourage you to do it, to check it out, because I'm sorry, any God that requires you to mutilate yourself is something that in of itself, is witchcraft. It is. And I'll continue to say over and over again, because once I found out, once I discovered what this thing took from me, I can't even describe to you right now how angry I was then and how angry it makes me even now. When I looked into this and I saw what this thing was really about and what it takes from men starting from a very young age, it's something that makes it makes you very angry. And this is why, like I said, I don't, people out here still talking about these freaking paintings and stuff like that. I ain't got time for that BS, man. I ain't got time for that, because that's nothing. You know what I'm saying? You won't talk about some paintings that ain't got nothing to do with you. And I promise I ain't going to get off on that. But I see people that got more energy for some bull crap like that. You know what I mean? But when it comes to something like this, and people want to stay in La La Land. They just want to stay there. They want to stay. They got all the energy in the world for that. But something like this, it's like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. La 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 la. I don't want to hear it. So it's their family. It's there. You can tell it does make it makes you extremely angry, when you start thinking about it. It does. And yeah. I mean, I think about the millions of young men and what was taken from us. I get, because when we look at the history of many of us over the years, you've heard stories about women, and young girls that are being mutilated in these different countries, for whatever reason, religious reasons or just sexual reasons and stuff like that. It makes you, I just get angry at that. How you going to take a little girl and do that to her? For what? So that he can get some pleasure out of that, and she messed up for the rest of her life? That makes you angry when you think about that, right? So we've been trained to kind of just have all of our anger reserved for that. But for men, we're trained, no, you can do it. You are right. You tough. You got it. You are right. You gonna be all right. There's a lot of men that ain't all right because of this. They're not. And we talk about that. All right. And, it's really something. So So I would encourage you to check it out when you get a chance. And like I said, what we've done, this is a series that has been out here. It's been on, it was mainly on mybondtube.com. But what we decided to do is to bring it here on YouTube. And I just trimmed it down a little bit to make it a little bit shorter, but still keeping all the relevant information in there. So, but anyway, you can check it out. The link to the first part of it is in the description of this video that you're watching right now. And if you have any questions for me, any questions for us on this topic, or anything that we say on here, you feel free. You can email us. Our email address is connect@journeymanandwoman.com. connect@journeymanandwoman.com. That's the web. That's the email address. And feel free to email, at any time if you have any questions. Okay, that's all I have for you guys. Listen, you take care, and yeah. Like I said, we're doing a lot here, so you can check out the community page and you see everything that we're doing. I got the links there too, okay? All the podcasts. So, all right, family, listen, you guys take care, and I'll see you again soon.